Motivational Mondays is the perfect way to set the tone for your week. Everyone can use motivation. Mondays are amazing, rich with opportunities, full of potential, and now motivational. Your week begins here.
Good Monday morning. Of course, my name is Genevieve Jones-Wright, the founder and lead empower mentor of Motivation.In.Action. Welcome back to another Motivational Mondays. And as always, I have an amazing, inspiring person with me today who just happens to be my friend, my sister, and my council member, Monica Montgomery Steppe. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really good. Hope you're doing well too.
I'm doing very well, blessed. You are looking good.
Thank you, as are you always.
See, that's why we're friends. So, there's so much that I want to talk to you about because you have such an amazing story. You are a very inspiring person, and I think a lot of times people look at where you are today and they don't know about how you got there, any of the struggles that you faced. And so I'm so happy that you are willing to come to Motivational Mondays and share your story with our viewers to help inspire them, because I really do think you have a story that's going to help a lot of people.
Well, I hope so.
I know so.
Yeah.
So, my first question for you was, well, where do we start?
Yeah.
I think we start here.
Okay.
Family.
Yes.
Your family is so important to you, and I remember your inauguration and your dad actually gave you the oath. Can you just talk a little bit about your father and your mother?
Yeah. Gosh, that makes me cry just thinking about that moment. So my father is from Dallas, Texas. He was actually born in Louisiana, and so the family moved to Dallas. He is the oldest son of seven siblings, and so he really had a tough life, in the way that he grew up. His father was really tough on him. They had a farm, so they would be out early before the sun came up and would have to go to school and then come back and work again. So my dad kind of came from that, and he's very strong. He's a veteran. And he raised us. He was strict, but we knew that he loved us, and that he loves us now. And my mom, she was born in Mississippi, but she was raised as a Californian. The family came out when she was like 2 years old. And she really is a very sweet person until she's not. Most people just see that side, but I know her as mom, and very loving, but also, wanted the best for her kids and knew that we would need structure and discipline and that kind of stuff to really reach our potential. So mom is extremely important, would give me her last of whatever she had. And she still does that, and it's just my parents raised us a very strong family unit where we could depend on each other. So I'm very grateful for that.
I just love hearing the backstory about your mom and your dad and how you were raised, because every time I see them with you, my heart always swells, because you can feel the love, you see the love. They accompany you to awards ceremonies. They're so proud of you. And I know that a lot of that pride is because they know that they poured so much into you, and you're really honoring them with your life of service.
Yeah, I hope so. Without all the awards, they did such a wonderful job with us in putting love first. And then I think everything stemmed from that love, and not every move was perfect, not everything was right, but we knew that our parents loved us, and it gave us that sense of security, so that we could go out into the world and face what we had to face. So I'm so grateful for them, and just for my entire family. My family is really big. But also security comes from that as well. And we were taught to love each other first. We love first. If we fight, then we fight. But family is, the closest thing that you have to you. So I'm grateful for all of them.
Absolutely. And loving through the fighting.
Yes, love through the fighting. Fighting is very real. And you love when you come back from fighting.
Absolutely.
So
I want to talk about the entrepreneurial spirit
yeah.
that your father gave you. I think your mom as well. So can we talk about that and how that influenced you?
Yeah, so Dad does his own thing. He is certainly his own man. And since I can remember, he's had his own business. So he has a construction business. My mom is a real estate broker, but she has spent most of her life helping and continue to build the capacity of the construction business. And so I remember from a very early age, they were very successful. They were young. I looked up to them. My dad, he could be a little excessive sometimes and buy some flashy stuff. I think it's that Texan in him. But I just remember them being happy and working really hard and enjoying that. I remember that. And then I remember Prop 209. And I just remember, like, it was right. It was passed as I was leaving for college. And my mom went up to City Hall. And although, we know that it was a state, now we know all of the levels of government, that it was a state thing, state proposition that was passed that eliminated any kind of affirmative action. But she begged and pleaded that it not be, institutionalized in San Diego, because really, in a matter of 6 months, they lost most of what they had worked for. And it's because construction is not the only industry, of course, that's like this, but certainly is a good old boy system, and certainly was in the 90s. And so they went from, having contract after contract to really, really struggling. And I was in college at the time. And so that really showed me, like, the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. It showed me, frankly, how it's really hard for Black folks in San Diego to make it and be their full, authentic self, even when you work hard. That was a really tough lesson learned. But they persevered through it. They persevered through it, and they still are owners. They're still proud of that. They still work hard. I can't get my father to stop working. I just don't even try anymore. He's relaxing a little bit more, but he's still working, so.
Okay, now I cannot have this conversation without talking about the love of your life, because it is truly an amazing thing when we find a love that God has for us. So can you just talk a moment about your special man?
Yes. Yes, I will, Mr. Stephen Steppe. So we met, I want to say it was like in 2013. We were at a Port District meeting of all places, because either of us do is work, right? So it'd be fitting that we would meet in a workplace. But he had just retired. I didn't know any of this, but he had just retired from the electricians union, and he was really going in head first on trying to get young people introduced to the trades. And he was there just asking the port about, their plan for young people. And I was there doing the same, because I was working for the mayor at that time, and I had been charged with getting like 2,500 youth jobs by a certain time. So I was kind of all over town, and we met there. And, when he started talking in that meeting, I looked over like, okay, what is he talking about? Like, it was very intriguing and interesting. But I had no idea. I was like, I gotta learn, I gotta know, So that's how our relationship started. It blossomed. We were friends for a while before we started dating, and last story I'll tell, and this was really when I was like, okay, he's serious. And it's, anyway, we were doing bridge lights again in the district. We reinstituted that. This was not when I was a council member, but it was really important to the community. We hadn't had them for years, and we were trying to piece it together, like who's going to do what. So he volunteered his organization to put the bridge lights.
And these are the Christmas lights that go over the 805
lights,
overpass.
the holiday lights that go over 805, Market, and Imperial, and now on Euclid, and we're trying to do more. But anyway, that's work, so I digress from that. But he volunteered his organization to do those lights, and one, I drove down after they had finished them, and one of them was like, didn't look right. So I called him, and I was like, I said, oh, I appreciate you all so much, but go to market and does it. So he woke up at 4 in the morning to go fix those lights. And for me, that was just like, in less than a 24-hour turnaround. And it showed me his heart for people in general. Like, it wasn't about me asking him that. It was about him wanting it to be right. And I just, he's such a good man. And, I waited a long time for a good man, someone to love me and treat me the way that I deserved. And he absolutely does. So I'm grateful for him.
I just love that. Such a beautiful story.
Yeah.
College.
Yeah.
Another pivotal moment in your life where you overcame some challenges. Can you speak to what you went through as a college student? Where'd you go to college?
Yes, of course I have to mention that. I went to Bonita Vista High School, and then from there I went to Spelman College, and it was a dream of mine. And when I got to the campus, we had the Founders Day where we have to wear white, and then we have to wear nude stockings, and we have to wear black dress shoes, and all be there with each other. And it was the beginning of like that sisterhood that Spelman embodies so much. And so I love Spelman. I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to go there and be shaped as, coming from San Diego, where I didn't go to majority black schools here. That it was just a really, really honorable experience that shaped me. But in the middle of college, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune illness. So, it was towards the end. I had to come back home because I got to the point where I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't do anything for myself. It was diagnosed with an autoimmune illness. It's called dermatomyositis. So that is skin and muscle inflammation. That's basically what the word means. It's kind of like lupus, but lupus impacts your internal organs, so I didn't have that issue, but certainly my skin and my muscles. So I was 20 years old. I feel like, at least me, everything about 20 was like, okay, exploring yourself and, finding what you want to do, and that really was halted. And it really impacted my physical appearance quite a bit. And I talk about that because that impacted me and my identity as a young woman, and really turned me into, to other people who looked at me, something very different. And that could be hurtful at times, and it went to really building my character because that was almost unbearable to go through that at such a young age. So I had to come back home. I did not want to come back home. I fought coming back home. But it got to the point where I couldn't do much for myself by way of taking care of myself. So my brother got me on a plane, and I came back home, and my family just came together, of course, like they do, and took care of me and really nurtured me out of where I was mentally and also physically. It took a while, and I still, deal with the illness every single day. I still have to watch and listen to my body. I have to get good sleep. I have to eat well. It's not an option for me, to do overnighters. And, I really have to my schedule has to be timely, right? Because every moment counts. But again, I think that it taught me an amount of empathy that it's hard to have if you haven't experienced that type of thing. Or other, we all have our stories. That just was a part of mine. And it taught me, I think, what I needed to know, what God needed me to know before I did what I'm supposed to do in this life. And although I wouldn't wish it on anyone, I just still wouldn't, even knowing the impact. I know that it played the most important role in my life in making me understand people. And understand that when I look at someone, it doesn't matter what I see. I have no idea what that person has gone through. None. And I really try to lead with that in everything that I do.
And we see that, and this is why you are called lovingly the People's Council Member. You really do bring a heart of compassion every single day to City Hall with you, and not just bringing the people with you, but you bring this heart of passion and compassion for the people. And I can only imagine how that was for you to go from independence to complete reliance on your parents again.
Yeah, absolutely. And independence is my mom said I've been independent since I was very young. I didn't like pet names. You know, you call kids certain names. I didn't like them. You know, my mom used to call me Pumpkin, and I told her, Mom, my name is Monica. Like, don't call me that. And I was like 2 years old. You know, I was always very independent, and very much wanting people to understand that. The point is, I'm very independent, and I've always been that. And so I also had to learn that lesson in what God was teaching me. Like, it's okay to lean on people. It's okay, to show your vulnerability, And I can say, I think we are such good friends, I think, because of some of those lessons. I can call you and talk about things. I can be vulnerable because of some of the lessons I learned through sickness. So it just played such a huge role in my life.
Thank you so much for that, because really and truly, that's what Motivational Mondays is about. So many people are going through things in life, and a lot of the things that we go through, especially as women, we could be ashamed of.
Yep.
We may not want to be vulnerable about, and that is why I appreciate you and our friendship, because we can just be open and honest and vulnerable with each other and share some of our most intimate details and some of the dark times in our lives. Yeah. But more than that, we recognize that all of those things have worked out for our good, as God has purposed, and every single thing has made us who we are. And so, like you mentioned earlier, character building. Who would Monica be if she didn't go through some of the things that she went through?
I don't know.
And it's like being grateful and thankful for even the hard things that we experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with this particular illness, I see it every day on me, and it can be tough. But it's a reminder to be intentional about the things that I'm doing, to be compassionate to the people that, not only that I meet, because that's the easy part, but the people that I know and the people that know me. That's tougher.
Oh, yeah.
Because we really know each other. We know that everything hasn't been right. We don't have an image. You may not be on a pedestal with everyone, right? Especially once they get to know us. But that vulnerability, that knowing and identifying yourself through the eyes of the Lord, that is what allows us to have flourishing relationships. That's what allows us to be comfortable in the skin we're in.
Yes.
That's what it allows. And it doesn't mean that things aren't hard and that we don't struggle, but we get through them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know one way that we both get through is through sisterhood, right?
Yes.
So, in the beginning I said, you're my sister.
Yeah.
You are my sister. And you have such wonderful, beautiful friendships with other women because you are such a good sister and friend. So I really want to kind of let you shout them out and talk a little bit about some of your friendships that have helped you along the way, the people that support you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Teresa Levels, she's a very, very dear friend. She's always encouraging. We lived together for 3 years, and so we're still friends. So that means, she's also my sister. Of course, I have Stacy Dent, who is a very good friend, very, very strong woman, extremely intelligent, accomplished, but also has that compassion and has never lost her authentic self. I have Shantika Dodson, who we've been friends since 9th grade. I met her on the bus, and I didn't really like her. She didn't really like me, but she's from the East Coast,
Classic story.
Yes, yes. And now she'll do anything for me. I'll do anything for her. Tori Hannah Allen, who's a really good friend, has taught me a lot about, getting outside of my box and traveling and doing different things. I have to shout you out. I'm sitting here with you, but even in this space and you providing this opportunity for women to share their stories. And for me, people always see the political side. I have to make a lot of political decisions, but I don't always share my story. So I appreciate you for giving women space to do that. So.
Well, listen, I can only say this so many times that I couldn't have this Women's History Month conversation themed Motivational Mondays without having you come in, because you are amazing to me. You are inspiring, and you really do embody true sisterhood and godly womanhood. And so, you know, for me, I didn't even want to have a political conversation with you because you're so much more than that. And so I count it as an honor for you to come and share your story. So with that being said, what would you leave with our viewers today as they start their Mondays? And I'm asking you this because you have shared so many jewels with me as my sister and as my friend. And I'm not about to tell y'all what she has told me, but she drops jewels. But what will you tell them today as they start their Monday and they are looking for some inspiration?
So we're in this world right now where so much is about image. And we do have these awesome platforms, right? Social media platforms, other platforms. But so much is about image, and it's about making people believe certain things. All I want, especially women, to know and understand is that you can be your full, authentic, beautiful self, and you don't have to compare that to anything else that you see because you have no idea. You have no idea what people are going through. You have no idea how they really feel. And so stay motivated, stay positive, take care of yourself, and love yourself because you are beautiful.
So you all have heard it here straight from the Honorable, yeah, she's going to get mad at me for saying that, but the Honorable Councilmember Montgomery Steppe. Be who you are authentically, love who you are, embrace every part of your story because God has purpose, all of these things for you, and you're gonna be okay. Now, here's the thing. Don't be out here trying to depend on yourself. You gotta lean on God, and that is so important. So I just, again, wanna thank you for being here, dropping these jewels of wisdom, sharing your story with us. You have definitely inspired some folks on this Monday morning.
I hope so.
Well, join us again next week for another wonderful conversation with another amazing, phenomenally inspiring woman. Going to be joined by Angela DeJoseph, the founder of Women of Color Roar Media. She is another beautiful woman who delights in honoring and supporting other women. So you don't want to miss that powerful story. See you next week.
Thank you so much for joining us for this week's Motivational Mondays. I'm going to see you next week, same time, same place, right here, with more inspiration to help you jumpstart your week. Now, if you found this week's conversation inspirational or motivational in any way, maybe you got a gem to carry with you throughout the day or the week, please feel free to like, comment, and share. Because remember, everyone can use some motivation. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'll see you next week.